Hello, listeners. This is, of course, the final episode of Box Office Time Machine. This is hard, obviously, for Veronica and I to be recording. Obviously, I'm in California, which is at war with New York, where Veronica lives, and I don't even know if it's legal for us to be recording this episode.
Jon? What?
Yeah.
What's happening? What are you doing?
Well, I'm just letting people know that this is our last episode. I'm probably going to be forced to go to war soon.
What
to
war?
go fight with the Civil War. You know, the Western territories of California and Texas are fighting against the East. You know, and then there's the Florida something. I haven't paid a lot of attention.
No, that's not real. That's just a movie. That's fake. There's no Civil War yet. It's just a movie. You saw a movie? Civil War?
Wait. So here in LA, I'm not currently at war with New York?
No.
I should not have bombed that pizza parlor.
Jon, not again. Amazing work as always.
We didn't say toot toot.
That's the sound of the bomb. Toot toot.
We didn't say toot toot. That's our first intro in forever that we didn't say our toot toot.
Sorry.
Do you think, were you too shocked and stunned by my acting ability that you forgot to say our classic toot toot?
That's what it was. It was thespian awe.
It makes sense. I did take one acting class in college.
Okay.
And I
chose.
Was in college recently, so it makes sense that my acting would be powerful. But who am I? Who are you? And what is this? I'm Jon.
Hi, I'm Veronica. I don't know why I'm waving. People are watching these now, so you gotta wave.
Yes, we are now uploading to video our show, Box Office Time Machine, the show where we look at the number one movie at the box office, either from the current weekend or a weekend from the past. And yes, in case you didn't catch it last week, we are now uploading videos of these podcasts to YouTube. You can look it up in case you are listening to this audio and you're like, huh, Jon just told a joke. I didn't hear Veronica laugh. Maybe if I watch, I'll see her inaudibly laugh.
Yeah.
As she's doing right now.
Yeah.
Listeners, listening, you're missing it. She's smiling right now.
Wow. Can you tell that I'm smiling? It's like one of those ads where you can tell that the person is smiling when they say it. You know, today you too can have a night out without any pee in your underwear or whatever it is.
And I know that because I went to a voice acting for commercials workshop once 10 years ago.
Oh, also in college? No, I guess it would not have been in college.
No,
Sorry,
because I was in college
I told
last
your
year,
secret.
So I was very young. I wish I was in college 10 years ago. We are beyond that point.
No. Sad days.
Oof. Yeah, we are. Anyway, we are making video. We are recording audio. My audio may sound worse than usual this week because I bought a bunch of new soundproofing, but the tape didn't work. So I took down the old soundproofing and didn't get to reinstall the new one. So if my audio sounds worse than usual, blame tape.
Big tape, but not audio tape.
Not audio tape. We do record these on reel-to-reel players.
I wish. That would be so nice. We would be like the Beatles.
Speaking of old technology, let's talk about those beautiful old cameras used by the war photographers in Alex Garland's Civil War, the movie we're talking about this week. Was that not the best segue you've ever fucking heard?
Yeah, that's a testament to a good segue. You gotta stop and admire it.
I think that's the thing with the segues. People typically just let them pass by, and I think they're missing out. You gotta savor
stop and smell the segue roses. Don't let them just pass us by. Yeah, Alex Garland, Civil War.
Now, Veronica, what is your history with America? No. Veronica, I think you and I are both fans of Mr. Alex Garland's work. We frequently do a lot of franchise movies here. I ask you what your history is with the franchise. Let me ask you what your history is with Mr. Alex Garland.
I mean, he's definitely hit or miss for me. But, I love Ex Machina. I remember seeing...
It's a hit.
It's a hit. I kind of enjoyed that Annihilation exists.
Hit-ish.
And I was at times delighted by Men, but was also kind of confused by it.
Foul Ball.
And I went to see The Beach when it came out because I had a huge crush on Leo DiCaprio. And
hit.
Yeah. I never saw 28 Days Later.
Really?
Yeah, I never saw it. I should. I'm not a big fan of...
It's a literal miss.
Yeah, I'm not a big zombie fan. I think might have discussed this before. Oh, and I hated
zombies.
Devs.
They're
Devs is a piece of garbage that needed to die. I hated Devs with the passion of 1,000 suns. Dev sucks ass. As someone who works in software, it was also just like comically wrong about everything that has to do with software development. So, oh, yeah, go ahead.
Please. No, sorry. In case anyone missed that, Devs was the TV series that Alex Garland wrote, in which he also got most of the supporting cast for this movie we're talking about today. He's building a whole little repertory company.
A repertoire. And I guess, last but not least, I love Sunshine, which he wrote. So I think that's my history. I've not seen Dread, nor have I seen his adaptation of Never Let Me Go, a book that I really like. So
I didn't realize he wrote that.
At least according to his IMDb that I'm looking at right now. A screenplay by one Alex Garland.
I'd believe that. Yeah, I'm more hits than you. I love 28 Days Later. I love Sunshine. Although, while I was a huge defender of the third act in the past, I rewatched it recently and I'm like, yeah, the third act kind of sucks. I never saw Never Let Me Go. I love Dread. I love Ex Machina. I love Annihilation. I was more positive on Men than most people, including the people I saw it with, who hated it so much.
Oh, I had a great time watching it. Yeah.
And Devs, I really liked the first few episodes, but
I remember we watched it together, like peak COVID, over Zoom, or like we would all like sync up our video. And I think we decided to let that go because we were not having a good time watching that show.
Did you not finish it?
Oh, I finished it, but I was enraged.
Oh, yeah. I just remember that everyone else was getting really upset, and I was like, no, I'm still into this. And then they got to the point where they revealed what the title actually meant, and I was like, oh no.
Oh, they revealed it in the first episode. They say devs.
Do they?
Yeah, it's like devs, like developers. This is what developers are.
Oh, no. The real meaning.
Oh, I don't even remember the real meaning, if there was one. Is it not developers?
Well, I don't know if it's like a meaning, but it's supposed to look like Deus, like God.
Oh, God, that's even worse. Oh, Jesus. Why? I was there peacefully thinking that devs is just developers and it was merely stupid in one way, but it's stupid in multiple ways.
Did you realize that Kaylee Spaney from this movie played the boy in Devs?
What? Are you serious? What boy?
Yeah, do you remember there was a little boy who worked at the software company?
Oh, like the one who like spent time with the guy who plays the reporter in this one, right?
Stephen McKinley had Civil War stars Kirsten Dunst, Wagner Moura, Kaylee Spaney, Stephen McKinley Henderson, Sonoya Mizuno, Nick Offerman, and Jesse Plemons, as well as others. But everyone in that list except for Kirsten Dunst and Wagner Moura were in Devs.
Wow, what would you call it? Like
I would call it an uninteresting fact because I've never met anyone outside of our friend group who has watched Devs, so probably a useless bit of information. But I mean, I think Men's an interesting thing because I really liked Men, and I really liked the weird kind of artsy, just the weird swing of the like choice, having all the men be played by the same actor. And I feel like there is another big swing in the movie we're talking about today. And I did peek at your Letterboxd, spoiling this a bit. But I think we're gonna have a little civil war in this podcast.
Oh boy.
Because there is one major complaint that everyone who disliked this movie seems to share.
Yeah.
And I think he made the right decision, and I am prepared to defend it.
Oh, I'm not saying that they're... I guess... Yeah, well, let's start talking about it, because I think my complaint is slightly different, but yes.
I will get... All right, quick, very quick rundown synopsis of the movie. Not a synopsis, just... premise. Civil War, it takes place during a civil war in America. There is a president, Nick Offerman. He is some kind of dictator doing a third term, and that has caused a number of states to secede, including some area in the South, as well as a Western alliance of Texas and California. And while this president is still trying to proclaim victory in TV appearances, they lost. As the movie starts, they have very much lost the war, and all that's left is the shooting. So a bunch of war journalists try to trek from New York to DC in time to interview the president before he is taken in by the Western Alliance of States. And if it seems like I'm being a little vague about the how or why of the Civil War, it's because the movie is vague, and that has pissed a lot of people off. So Veronica, in your Letterboxd, you said something like some social commentaries can be too generic.
Yes.
Something like that. And I know you write little pithy short.
Yeah, I'm a bit
reviews.
of a quipster. I'm a digester of Tortuga in my reviews.
So I know your take is probably more nuanced than that, but that seemed to share. Before we get into what you think, the vast majority of people I've seen who really didn't like that movie really didn't like the fact that we do not find out why this Civil War started. We get hints, vague references, but we do not know why it started, how it started, why California and Texas are fighting together, something that has baffled people since the first trailer came out.
Yeah, I believe it baffled you.
When I saw the trailer. Yeah, I texted you and I said, I'm fascinated to find out how that happened. We do not find out. And now, having seen the movie, I personally think that was the right choice, but I've talked too much. Veronica, what is your more nuanced take on why you seem to be not completely thrilled with this movie.
Yeah, it just seemed like it's not only that it was generic in the presentation of this commentary. It seemed like there wasn't really any commentary at all. It seemed like uh because he chose to basically be as surface level as possible with the story, it felt like I I didn't really necessarily know what to make of this. Is if the message is civil war is bad, sure. But like why is this even set in the US? Like it is so generic to the point where this could be like there are many civil wars elsewhere, right? Like why is that not set in Syria or I don't know, like somewhere in Africa or something like that? It just seemed like yeah, it just felt like there wasn't much to latch on to, and because it didn't seem like he had a point except for just saying that civil war is bad. I think the more interesting point he did make is about how reporters treat their work and how they function within these environments. And I thought that was interesting. But in terms of actually having something to say about the present American condition or something to say about how civil wars happen and why civil wars happen and what the impact of civil war is on the people who have to be subjected to it, I don't know that he said anything. But I would push back against like I don't want this to be about Trump. And I don't want this to be about necessarily about the current right-wing militias that are threatening something like a civil war over Twitter or wherever it is. Though there do seem to be, he does sprinkle in some references to that stuff. Like there are guys wearing sort of Hawaiian shirts in one scene, and I guess they could be alluded to as, you know, Proud Boys or the Electric Boogaloo or whichever one of them is like the ones that wear Hawaiian shirts. Nick Offerman kind of looks like Trump. I mean, we hear the third term thing. He has the tie that's very prominent. I can see those things, but it just felt like I did not know what made him make that movie, I guess. I don't know. Why did you like it? And again, I did not hate it. I was in it. I watched it on IMAX. It was very visceral, especially the final sequence. I wasn't bored, but at the end of it, we kind of left the movie theater and both were like, okay, well, but why did we see this? Like,
so, okay. So, I think a lot of people's, kind of, what's the word I'm going to look for? A lot of people's annoyance with this movie, I think the people who are angry at it has a lot to do with it being not what they expected. And I think a lot of people did expect. It's a movie called Civil War, released about a civil war in America, released during an election year at a point when America is as polarized as humanly possible. And the idea of a civil war, because everything that's happened in the past, 10 years is so insane that it's like, yeah, fuck it. A civil war could happen. So I think a ton of people thought that it was going to be a speculative fiction about if civil war happened in America, this is why it would happen and how it would happen, how it would go down. Like, people wanted that movie that's like, well, first, kind of a World War Z kind of imagining of like, well, first this state had the first battle and this was the first shot, and then the people of this state split in two, this urban center, yada, yada, yada. That's what a lot of people really wanted.
mm.
And I think what a lot of people also really wanted was basically a movie basically like a redo of January 6th, where this time the army fucking guns them all down. I think a lot of people wanted something like that, or or they wanted vice versa, something where the January 6th folks break in there and they hang Mike Pence and slaughter Nancy Pelosi. That's what a lot of people wanted. And to be fair, that's what some of the marketing was selling. And I want to get back to that later. When I told you earlier I wanted to share a video with you, I don't know if you've seen A24's final trailer for this movie.
Probably,
but it is insanely, like, tonally different from the movie. It is hilarious. But yeah, that's what people expected. But so I listened to an interview. I listened to an interview. I watched an interview on The Daily Show with Alex Garland, and I didn't find it that interesting or helpful. The most interesting thing I saw was actually his quick top 4 films with Letterboxd. The Letterboxd, what's your 4 favorite films?
Oh.
They do with everyone. And his 4th one was Come and See. The movie about, have you ever seen that?
No, I heard about it. Seems like too much for me.
Right there, that that reaction that she's giving, that's the tone of what the movie is. It is one of the most truly unpleasant war films of all time. I think it takes place in Belarus during World War II.
No.
I saw it. I watched a lot of it on fast forward. I'll freely admit that. It is so unpleasant. But there is the famous, I meant to get it in front of me before we started, the Francois Truffaut quote about war movies. What is the quote? There is no such thing as an anti-war movie. There's more to the quote, but that's what I'm seeing right away.
Yeah.
But the quote being that war, like, basically the modern interpretation of what he was saying is that, war is inherently cinematic. And even if you're trying to make an anti-war movie, the excitement of seeing humans in conflict is going to inherently make you enjoy it and get excited by it. So even if you're trying to say, this sucks, this is bad, you're still going to be like, yeah, shoot that guy. Shoot that bad guy. And in the quick Letterboxd clip, he said, I made everyone in the cast and crew watch Come and See.
Oh, gosh.
What fun homework. What delightful homework for everyone. I'm sure they were all thrilled, Alex. But he made everyone watch it. And then he said something like, visually, my reference point was Apocalypse Now. But although Apocalypse Now is an anti-war movie, I think you still get, like, I forget his exact quote, but he's like, you still kind of get caught up in it. I wanted this to be more like Come and See. And I think, and I'm, going to reveal, like, some ugliness about myself. I'll admit that if, say, this was a movie in which a bunch of people wearing, like, MAGA hats were charging over a battlefield, and then a bunch of other people shot them dead. Like, if I had just sat down to a movie and watched that, there is a part of me that would have been like, yeah, good for them. To be clear, I do not want anyone to be shot in any context.
And you're not advocating for actual civil war.
No, I am not, especially not after watching this movie. But I think there's something, the abstraction of being in a movie. I know these aren't real people. So the idea of sitting there and watching people that I disagree with lose in a movie, and in that case being, like, die, there is a part of me that would probably just have been like, yeah, okay, cool. And then also, he doesn't do that. He purposely gives, like, conflicting information. Yeah, the president definitely seems like Trump, but then also Texas is fighting him. And, like, the people who are on his side, like, the men all have, like, fingernail polish. So, like, they don't seem like good old boys. And it's like, it's all kind of, like, jumbled to where you really can't decide who is on a side. because this movie isn't about the Civil War. It is about living through a Civil War. And so at that point, he's basically saying, like, if you're in the middle of it, you would feel like, as those two guys say in the middle of the movie, people are trying to kill me, we're trying to kill them, that's all that matters. And I think it's a big swing and a difficult choice, and it's definitely one that it purposefully doesn't give you the rabble-rousing cheer of good guys and bad guys. So I agree with the choice. The other thing he could have done would be to create, say, a fictional country. But that's, then we're suddenly in sci-fi.
Yeah.
Or set it in an actual war zone that exists, like Syria, but then you have Western audiences being like, well, that's what happens there. And so I think the choice he made was the right choice. That's my feeling. I think it really worked to the point where I was not rooting for either side. I was purely sitting there thinking, damn, this is horrible.
Right. Yeah, but I guess that's just not enough for me. And I agree with you, on paper, all the things that we talked about seem interesting and provocative. Like, isn't it interesting to have a movie where it's a civil war, but you're not sure who to root for? Isn't it interesting for maybe to be dropped into a world that's kind of like ours, but the politics are murky and you're given conflicting information regarding people, so you might not want to be aligned to, or like your allegiances shift as you see the movie, and then you kind of realize that it's futile because these people are like, you can't really tell what it is, or you can't necessarily apply your set of beliefs onto these characters. I find that in the abstract very interesting. I just found the execution, it was just like the movie did not engage me on those ideas. It was mostly like we were going from place to place, and people who I was never sure whether they were aligned with the rebellion or with the government would be doing horrible stuff to other people who I wasn't sure who they were aligned with. And there were these photographers in the middle of it, which, again, I thought were the best part of it and the only sort of recognizable characters in it, probably by design, like taking the pictures and being sort of, as Kirsten Dunst does say in the movie, being sort of feeling like we are just the ones facilitating the conversation by providing the information as opposed to like having an opinion about it. And then at the end, it was just sort of a pretty bloodlustful, video gamey shoot 'em up experience where you're just watching these people shoot through the White House. In a very, it was visceral to see it, especially on the big screen, but I feel like I was never at any point emotionally affected by anything that was happening, because it was clearly just stand-ins for something, which is the thing, which I'm not sure what he's actually trying to say here necessarily. And so I just left kind of being emotionally unaffected by anything that happened on screen. And I was like, okay, so yeah, so I get that this is supposed to be commentary. I don't necessarily know what for, and I don't really know why he chose to make that movie at all. I'm not saying that, like, as I said, I'm not saying putting it, like, specifying something out of the stuff that we laid out might have made it a better movie, but it might have made it a more emotionally impactful movie to me.
Yeah, it's I'm going to bring up, I feel bad that I bring up this movie all the time, but it's my go-to example of a bad movie. So,
Oh boy.
it's funny, like Joker, the movie Joker. I have constantly said, like, Joker is a movie that constantly brings up topics, like powerful incendiary topics, and then refuses to say anything about them. And the word I have frequently used to describe that movie is cowardly. And I have seen a number of smart people describe Alex Garland's approach to this movie as cowardly. Because they think, why are you not saying something about American politics right now? Why would you, like, I mean, they were definitely harsher than you sound, but like they're saying, why did you make this if you had nothing to say? And earlier you said, something like, I get it, war is bad, but that's not enough. And in some ways, I think there's obviously more to it than this, but I think mostly it is just like, yeah, war is bad.
I mean, I'm not like disagreeing with the sentiment. I wholeheartedly agree with the sentiment that war is bad, and civil war would likely be worse. And so yeah, I don't know. As I said, I like his movies. Like out of the ones that he directed, I enjoyed on some level all of them. But this one, I feel like Alex Garland specifically, though, is a man of so many big ideas. And usually the thing that kind of stumps him, and that is my definition of it, is the execution of them. Like sometimes it's a lot of ideas and the execution is somewhat muddled in some way, or maybe even Devs, that I hated with a passion of 1,000 Suns, is like, has a lot of ideas. We can't deny that this, like, he has something to say. But here it just felt, that's the thing that I was most surprised by. It just felt like, is this all there is in terms of that idea? And I was kind of disappointed because I feel like he does have more to say, probably. But, so that, I think maybe that's why. Maybe if I came in without kind of the knowledge of his back catalog, I would not have had that expectation necessarily. Because as I said, this movie is super well done. It's never boring. It's kind of like you're along for the ride the whole time. And so it's just that I wish there was like maybe something more under the surface. Yeah.
I had read the initial reviews. I had looked at them, and this idea was already a contentious, divisive idea. The idea that this wasn't the movie people were expecting. This is just, here's what it's like to be a war photographer in a war. And so I didn't come in thinking he was going to say something about America or anything. So maybe that did help me out. But what was that? Yeah, I feel like I think his big idea probably really was, how can I do this thing that Truffaut has said is impossible? And a ton of people have taken that as a challenge. How can I make an actual anti-war film? How can I make a depiction of war in a Western nation, a modern war in a Western nation, in a way that is completely unglamorous and just horrifying? And most movies that try to do that do it the other way, of just literally, hey, if a modern war happened, a bunch of nukes would go off and we'd all be dead. So that's not that glamorous. That sucks. You'd die or you'd wish you were dead. Bummer. Or you'd be a noseless ghoul like Walton Goggins in Fallout, the TV show.
Oh boy.
But yeah, I think the big idea really was, let me show how truly terrible this would be. And a part of me thinks the decision to make it be war journalists was all beholden to that idea, because war journalists are really like, let me find the people who would be there right in the battlefront. Let me not do the kind of typical thing of like, maybe like Grave of the Fireflies. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah. Let me not do the thing of like, okay, I'm going to do the anti-war movie by showing people who are not involved in the war at all. They're just trying to survive. He's like, let me not do that. Let me instead do the people who are as purposefully getting as close as possible, but purposefully being as objective as possible. Someone who is getting as close as they can, but not trying to impact the war at any point. And I think it all comes back to that idea. But we've talked enough about
right, but to that last point about them being objective as possible, I feel like that's the reason, though, why it seems that way. And I would argue we don't even see their struggle to appear objective is because we don't know who the sides are. We don't know like what pressures, if any, these reporters face in terms of what to report and what to obstruct. We don't really see that because we don't really know what political or emotional pressures they are under living in this society, which I think would also be interesting to show if what you are showing is, you know, a reporter that, you know, is there to only be a vessel of transmitting what's happening as opposed to sort of like impacting anything. But it seems like if you don't have those conflicts more laid out, you are not able to show these reporters struggling with them or struggling with their reportage.
It's definitely, I also don't think it's a movie about the struggle to be objective as a journalist.
Well, I think they do. That is like one of the only things that they sort of concretely talk about. I agree with you. It doesn't necessarily display that in those scenes, but I think that is something that was talked about this movie. I don't know how intentional that was, but, you know, there's that scene where Kirsten Dunst says, like, we are not here to like pass judgment. We're not going to be the ones, you know, releasing the news from those guys hanging because like we're there to just depict that the act was happening. And, you know, that there's I guess like the stuff about at the end, the very end, the I just need a quote line and all that. And I think that I think we frequently talk about, you know, arcs that don't really happen because we only see like a beginning of an arc and then there's not a ton of sort of character growth, but then they arrive at the point that they would have had there been character growth. And I feel like there was, to the extent that I understand that this movie is not necessarily character based, but there was still kind of the arc of Kaylee Spaney character was sort of there. And there is sort of the idea of like that reporter guy that we don't really necessarily know where he's coming from other than that he's sort of this more of a thrill-seeking guy. But yeah, I guess it would have been better, I feel like, if we had some sort of an emotional stake there or some sort of a gateway character to kind of illustrate what it feels like to live in this war. And I feel like we didn't really get that.
Yeah, when I say it's not really about them being objective, I mean objective in the way that I think we would naturally assume someone's objective about a war, as in objective as in not taking a side. It's not about like, it's definitely not about them being like, I can't abide by the crimes of this one side any longer.
Yeah.
I mean like objective as in passion, a dispassionate.
Mm-hmm.
Like she sees these men who are being tortured, and the younger journalist is like, maybe I could have saved them somehow. And Kirsten Dunst in that scene you're referencing says like, that's not what our job is. And I think what happens is the arcs are that those two characters swap positions, is that Kirsten Dunst, who has been in so many war zones and grown, you know, and really catered and created this dispassionate kind of ability to look and see truly horrible things and just take a picture and try to not let it affect her. once she's actually there and is seeing it happen to her home, she can no longer do it. And we see her grow more and more, like fall to despair. Meanwhile, the young journalist who starts out being truly troubled eventually gets that ability to just get the shots. And as my friend I saw it with pointed out, and I think this is really dumb, but it's definitely there, at the point they swap perspectives, they swap shirt colors.
Wow.
That is a real thing that happens in the movie, and I think it's dumb, but that is actually, like, it is after the whole Jesse Plemons sequence. She has to clean up blood with her shirt. So one is wearing a white shirt, one is wearing a black shirt, and after that they swap. So in the last sequence, Kaylee Spaney's wearing a white shirt and she's wearing a black shirt. But we see, like, obviously there's that moment she says, you know, would you there's a moment where Kaylee Spaney says, if I died, would you take a picture of me? And Kirsten Dunst, who at this point is annoyed that this younger journalist is even with them, says, what do you think? Obviously implying, like, yeah, of course I would. That's my job. And everyone has pointed out, like, as I did in that moment, we all know from the moment they have that conversation, this movie's going to end with one of them getting shot while the other one takes a picture. But I think what's more important for her arc is that Kirsten Dunst, not Kaylee Spaney getting shot, Stephen McKinley Henderson gets shot and dies. She takes a picture of him and then deletes it. And that's when we see that she can no longer do this. And the fact that it's her, I think that it's happening in her homeland, what changes it for her. I think I get that impression from the conversation she has with Stephen McKinley Henderson earlier, where she says, every time I came back from a war zone with pictures, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah, that's what I think the arcs were.
Right. I just think that, like, it was... And I just think it was a bit too kind of neat of a change, because I feel like Kirsten Dunst really seems to be kind of fine with documenting a civil war in her home until her reporter friend dies, which obviously, like, so I think that's more of a trigger for her than necessarily have it be at home. But yeah, it just felt like, it felt neat. Yeah, I can see that, but it felt like very neat. Like, yeah, we need them to change places. We need, like, the student to become the master, and we then need them to practice, like, this very dispassionate way of reporting things by literally filming the death of their mentor. I get it. It felt like I just wish there was more of them as people reacting to it and being conflicted about the level of dispassion they need to bring to this job. That would happen more than just, like, the one time that they kind of talk about it. But it's fine. It's fine.
Well, I want to get... I think we've talked enough about, like, the heady stuff around this movie. I want to talk about what the actual moment to moment, you know, the performances, the different sequences. But first, I would like you to watch something. Have you seen the trailers for this movie?
I have, yes. I feel like I've seen all of them, but you are implying that I might not have.
There was another one that came out 7 days ago.
Okay.
And
maybe I have not, because I've been
screen?
traveling. Yes, I do see the YouTube screen.
I want you to watch this trailer and tell me what you think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I can't hear the sound. I don't know if that matters.
Oh, sorry. Whoops. All right, let me enable.
We're having some technical
this
difficulties.
This is the most exciting point of our show. Why is this? I feel like this should be automatic. Yes. Screen share for video clip and share computer site. Okay. Do you hear it now?
All across America,
Yes.
critics are raving about the movie event of the year.
It is American, 100%. That's what I'm talking about.
Cool.
Wow, that drop, man.
Going to DC.
Are you serious? The United States are vaporized. They shoot us on sight in the Capitol.
I've never been scared like
God.
that before, and I've never felt more alive.
God.
You watch. As soon as DC falls, they'll turn on each other.
Whatever happens, we don't quit.
Oh my God.
You don't want to miss this.
Wow.
God bless America.
Civil War
Right.
rated R.
So when does this
Now.
video game drop? This rated M for
so-
mature video game drop.
So look, A24 is not the first movie studio to do this. I've always been obsessed with these, like, clearly trying to sell the movie to a different audience as something it not really is. And
I
it's
hate this.
hey, let's get a
Hate
big
this.
opening weekend, and who cares if these people don't really like it? But let's have a big opening weekend. That last critical quote that says the stuff that IMAX is made for, very funny to put in a trailer. But yeah, for people who don't know, A24, the art house darling movie studio, they went public as a company, and they announced that shortly after that, of course, they announced that they were going to make bigger movies. And this was, I think, their most expensive film, and this was clearly one of their first attempts. Although I imagine this was probably already in production when that happened.
I would
But,
imagine. Yes.
But yeah, this is the direction they kind of want to go. They want to make big blockbusters, and this trailer is selling it as a fun blockbuster. And there are a few things that I noted in that trailer that I want to discuss with you.
Okay.
First, we have, the exciting music. What the hell is the computer animated army soldiers fighting?
Oh yeah, was that in the movie? I was gonna ask.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but if you're just listening to the podcast, at the beginning of the trailer, there's weirdly a shot of a bunch of computer animated green army men killing each other. I have no idea why. Maybe that was in the movie. If I'm wrong, please let me know.
I mean,
I don't remember
it could have been a
seeing it.
deleted scene, but if this is a trailer they release a week before the movie is coming out, that's weird, right? This is not the time.
What would the context have been? The deleted scene.
Yeah, I wonder if there is. Maybe that was one of the big ideas that Alex Garland got away from, was maybe there was a way of conducting war sort of like digitally, how we have drones. Maybe there's a way to further remove you from stuff by imagining everyone. I guess it's sort of like a Black Mirror episode. I think there was one about that, where you sort of are removed from that even more by envisioning green soldiers. I don't know. This is me trying to come up with a reason.
In the movie, I can only imagine it was maybe like we would have seen like online propaganda or something. I don't know. But another thing I noticed in this trailer, one of the critical quotes that they have is hands down the best combat ever put on film. I'm very positive on this movie. I do think the combat scenes are horrifying in a on purpose. This quote is selling a fun bit of combat. By the way, that quote,
it's going against
clearly,
Truffaut's whole thing. This is like Alex Garland is like, here I was trying to make war not cool. And I don't know, Aidn'tCoolJoeBlow.com is saying that this is the best combat footage ever.
They went deeper than that. That quote is from The Chive,
What
which is
that?
like, it's like a bro website. It's like the kind of
Oh.
website that's like, it's just like, here's, like, the articles are like, here's the 10 funniest memes today. And then the next article is like, here's the 7 hottest lingerie babes of the day.
Of the
It's
day.
like, it's that kind of website.
How do they not run out of
it's-
lingerie, babes? 7 per day? How many are there?
God keeps making them.
Wow. Wow.
Uh,
When you said chive, I assumed it was some sort of a home gardening website.
Here, I'm gonna tell you what's on the chive.com right now.
Okay.
Daily
Lay on me.
dopamine dump. One single
What does that
forceful
even
sneeze
mean?
and these, I guess they're just fun images. One single forceful sneeze and these tops might be done. Just women wearing tops that are gonna come off.
Wow.
Daily morning awesomeness. Hump day afternoon cheekiness. That's 39 photos
Cheekiness.
of butts. It can't be that. Yeah, and then a review of the 1989 movie Killer Crocodile.
Lyle, killer crocodile.
Like, no shade to the esteemed writing staff
AIs
of
that produce
thechive.com.
that content.
But like, yeah, this is clearly, it's not really what the movie is.
No.
But that's who they were going for money. And then also another thing that I love, did you hear the slight dialogue shift in there? They tweaked a bit of dialogue.
No. Which part?
Stephen McKinley Henderson's character.
Oh, you gotta be
in
there.
that trailer. He says, "You're going to DC? The United States has been vaporized. They'll shoot us on sight."
Oh yeah.
That is not what he says in the movie. He says, in the Capitol, they shoot journalists on sight.
Mm-hmm.
And I know because the actual line of dialogue is in the other trailer. But this trailer is purely designed to sell this as a cool action movie. So no, it's not that journalists may be shot, because they want the people in the audience who don't like journalists. They want it to be anyone gets shot. I just thought that trailer was hilarious. The movie was number 1 at the box office.
So,
we
clearly.
certainly
What is
in
its
this
audience
podcast, we're-
score? Do you know?
not great. It was a B- cinema score. It might have a huge
That's
a
actually
huge
higher
drop
than I
this coming-
anticipated, considering the misleading marketing. But
yeah, because I think it is. I mean, the action sequences are really exciting, and I do want to talk about those. But yeah, it made 30 million. Yeah, we'll see what happens this coming weekend if there's a massive drop. But yeah, that's what that trailer was going for. Get them butts in the seats. I think
That's
it was
hilarious.
very funny. But yeah, let's talk about the movie itself, other than what the intentions were.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think of them performances?
Oh, I really liked, especially Kirsten Dunst. I don't think I've ever seen her quite like this, and I thought she was great. I've loved her since Bring It On, so I'm always very happy to see her on screen. Yeah, and I thought she gave a very sort of contained and nuanced performance where you really felt like the heft on her shoulders, even, as I say again, not clear why, but there was heft. And yeah, she was really good. I'm not, and I thought everyone else were fine. I guess personally, I'm not a big fan of the I'm a child and I'm going to tag along on this adult adventure kind of a thing. And we kind of tolerate the child, and then the child is like grows emotionally or whatever. And obviously, like, Kaylee Spaney is not a child, but it really felt like that trope. And personally, this is like a very personal thing. Not a fan of that, but I think it did grow on me, and her character development was like good, and it got me to a place where I saw her more as a character than as an annoying child. So I guess testament to her for turning it around for this curmudgeon.
Did you see Priscilla?
I did. I really liked her in that. I think she's great. But yeah, I was surprised that she was even in it because from all the trailers I've seen, she's barely in it. And I was like, oh, there's like a whole lead character that they kind of buried. I feel like most of the trailers made it seem like Jesse Plemons was a big part of this movie, which is definitely another lie the movie trailer told us about Civil War.
It's funny, when I saw the first trailer, and then I heard the lead from Priscilla was in it. I didn't see Priscilla, but I was like, wait, why isn't she in the trailers then? And then I was like, wait a minute. Does she play the teenage daughter? Because in the trailers, you see, shots of her, and like Kaylee Spaney is either 25 or 26. Wikipedia
Very
can't
young
decide.
looking.
Well, you can look up pictures of her. Like, she is young. She's 20, like in her mid 20s. But like, there's ways to, costume choices and makeup choices to make her look her age, and they very much purposely made her look young. Perhaps too young. Like, in the trailers, I legitimately thought, only seeing the first trailer, that she was Wagner Moura's character's daughter.
Oh. Which is kind of creepy considering what does happen in the movie.
Well, there's one reference to the fact that he got drunk and hit on her when he first met her, which I like. In the movie, I'm like, they say her character's 23, but again, I think maybe they dressed her up too young. She really looks like she's 15.
I mean, she
movie.
did play a 14-year-old in Elvis, so because that's a fun
Priscilla?
fact about when their relationship starts.
Huh.
Yeah, it was kind of creepy. I did not realize that it was that young, but it was that young.
Yep. Which do you find more unpleasant? Elvis marrying a child or Civil War in America?
I guess Civil War still. I'm gonna be a patriot and say still Civil War.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I don't care about pedophilia at all because we can only have one thing we care about. In a world where you can care about only one thing, one woman chooses to care about two things.
And then just every other shot in the movie is just other people going, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna tweet about this. You're so canceled.
You care about that war? Wow, I guess that means you don't care about every war. And homeless people.
And sexism.
And sexism. Wow.
That's the name of the movie. Wow. This Thanksgiving.
Jesse Plemons is in just one scene. So I think Kirsten Dunst was excellent. I had not seen Wagner Moura before this.
I don't think
that's
I
a guy
either.
He is 47 in real life, and he could believably be younger than me. That's a guy, like, when I saw, he was like, when they were like, he played what's his name? He played the narco in Narcos. He played Pablo Escobar.
The narco? The narco?
Yep.
He played several narcos.
Died, he's only 44. But yeah,
oh
no.
God, he was in that movie Elite Squad. Oh my God, I walked out of that movie.
What was Elite Squad?
It was by, I forget, like someone affiliated with City of God. It's a Brazilian movie about these super violent, almost like paramilitary police squads that are there to bust like gangsters in the favelas. And it was literally, the whole movie was just narrated. They would like literally just like show you busting into a room or whatever, and it would be like, and then we busted into this room. It was so annoying that I walked out. I was like, this was
Oh no.
it was just so unpleasant to sit through.
Well,
Anyway.
he was in The Gray Man.
Oh, I've not
which I
seen.
believe
Don't
was
tell my
watched-
boss.
I'm sure Netflix has their numbers. It was watched by 8 billion trillion people.
Uh-huh.
That's what Netflix says.
Several times, I'm sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought he was excellent. I think that having never seen him before, I thought he was really fun. Stephen McKinley Henderson. Is Stephen McKinley Henderson like becoming like the next? He's like the next big character actor who goes over into people being like, I love that guy.
Yeah. Or like
He's great in everything.
He is. He has. I will say I'm too scared for him to be kind of typecast as sort of the wise old man. I feel like a lot of the roles that he seems to get are that, and I feel like he has better range than that. He also, he has like such an interesting just like aura about him, and I wish he got more to do. Because I feel like even in this, I don't know, that was the most cliched part of the movie when, I guess kind of spoiler, he saves them from one place by whisking him off in a car and gets shot. He's the only person who dies. Well, except for Kirsten Dunst, I guess, at the end. But like, the
main character dies. I think that's a pretty big.
No. But his death was, I was like, please. Like the moment they start shooting at them, I was like, okay, he's gonna die. And then
I'm not even that's yeah, it's very cliche. The only part I didn't really like about that is I'm genuinely not sure the physics of how he got shot.
Yeah, because they were shooting at the back of the car. Maybe some
and
weird.
Yet he in the driver's seat is shot on like his right side.
Yeah,
I guess he was shot while the door was open.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I haven't even thought that far, but yeah, it just felt like
maybe maybe it was his left side, but either way, yeah, they do the cliche.
Yeah, no, it is his left side because she kind of takes a picture of it. Yeah, I think it is his left side. So at least like it makes sense that if like maybe the car swerved sideways for a little bit, a bullet hit him, and then they sort of righted it. I don't know, not the biggest pet peeve, but is a pet peeve.
I think the you've gotten away from the big action sequence, and it seems like our characters got away, but then the one character's like, I'm having a bad time. Oh no, he's been shot. Like that is the biggest cliche that's in this movie.
For sure.
But I was fine because it came over after that Jesse Plemons scene. That was scary.
That was scary. I mean, he was basically reprising his role from Breaking Bad. You could totally just tell his character from Breaking Bad would be this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, and the slow reveal of the number of bodies, because, the setup is that they're standing next to this truck that just lowered a bunch of dead bodies into this creek type thing. And so you're already horrified because you're like, oh, okay, this is just 5 bodies that they're treating like garbage. And then as the scene progresses, a character falls into said creek to reveal that there's an ocean of bodies there. And it's pretty horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
and he is so good at doing this. Like he is so good at playing that character. Like he seems like the biggest sweetheart in all the interviews, but he has that one nailed. He's like, I can do this very emotionally removed, hard to read, kind of aggressive guy. Like he can do this in his sleep.
If I just describe what happens in the scene, there's so many things about it that I would hate. They introduce 2 characters just to die.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, it's our friends. oh no, our friends are dead.
Yeah.
The fact that they our younger main characters survive after getting saved in the last moment by the older man who then dies. All that stuff is very kind of cliche and silly, but I didn't mind it because the scene is so incredibly suspenseful. But I want to jump to something you said earlier. At the last sequence, jump forward, they get to DC. Did you said you found it just kind of video gamey. Did you not get any kind of like did you not feel any kind of like horror at like basically we have a breaking through the bunker scene of going to get the dictator, but it's the White House. Did you not feel like any kind of like, oh God, yeah, like, I guess that's what that would look like if someone came and shot the president?
Yeah, no, I did feel like that. It was interesting because I think also the angles he picked to depict the White House are normally not the ones that you would see. They're not, it's like showing Michelangelo's, or not Michelangelo's, like David's butt when you show that like statue of David. And it's like, yeah, it's always been there, but this is not how we see it usually. But, and I thought the way that they showed sort of, I guess would be maybe the back entrance to the White House and how they go through it and how destroyed it was. No, it was all very viscerally real, but it still felt like you were going through, a video game where like your goal is to take over the White House because, there's some, intruder in the White House or whatever, like the president is illegitimate or whatever it is. So it still felt like that, but I'm not necessarily saying that it's at the same time not a realistic depiction of what actual combat would be like. I am lucky enough to never having been in a combat situation. So, and one of my references for that is video games or movies. So, it felt like that to me. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
That you've not been in a combat sequence, I would say that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think maybe
and and I wasn't like saying that derogatorily that it felt like a video game, but it kind of,
you would never because you're a massive gamer.
I mean, I have my respect for gamers. I am not capable of controlling these characters that fast. I get very stressed out.
One of us in this conversation doesn't play many video games, and one of us has huge opinions about the ending of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth after playing the game for 80 hours in the past few weeks. I'll leave it to the listeners to guess which of our hosts is which.
Which one of us does Wordle every day, and which one of us plays Final Fantasy for 24 hours?
I just think it's bad storytelling, the end of that new Final Fantasy. I just don't know what the fuck they were thinking.
I agree, man.
Anyway.
Those motherfuckers. How dare they? They said the fantasy was final.
I think that is kind of like where we come down differently on this movie, is that the distancing, the techniques that he uses to kind of make sure you're not emotionally engaged with the movie on a raw action movie level kept you from being emotionally engaged at all. Whereas I watched those scenes, and I think we probably both agree that they're very wonderfully shot and choreographed, and it's thrilling and horrifying. I was in those sequences emotionally connected to the Kirsten Dunst character. I was feeling what she felt of like, this is what I wanted to see, but now I'm here and this is horrible.
Yes. And I also, there were these little times where Kaylee Spaney's character was just in the way. And I guess they were doing it to set up her final time where she's in the way. That is lethal, but it also was kind of interesting, and I wonder if he was trying to say something about the sort of the dynamic between war photographers and a combat situation, because it's like you want to get the shot, but these people actually have objectives that they're trying to reach, and you are sometimes a hindrance in their actual work that they need to be doing. So I thought it was kind of an interesting dichotomy, the way that, you know, he presented that sequence. I thought it was very effective.
Well, do you have anything else to say about this film? Anything?
Yes, I have a fun thought experiment. All right, so Civil War happens under Alex Garland's Civil War circumstances, I suppose. So we're not going to be political about it. But which character in this movie are you? Or like, what is, like, how are you reacting to the Civil War?
All those characters who, like, when they talk about, like, oh, my family's hiding out in a farm trying to pretend this isn't happening. Like, at the end of the day, that's probably who I'd like to be.
Yeah.
I'd say the people in the peaceful town, but we see what you have to do to make it a peaceful town, so not them. I'll say who I'm not. Any of the war journalists.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not rushing. It's so funny. We had a trailer for Twisters.
Oh, yeah, we did too.
And and it's a similar thing. Like, the big, like, thing in Twister is, like, the plot of the original Twister is, like, they run towards a twister, and then they go, oh no, we're close to a twister, and they run away. And it's just like this whole thing of, like, that movie never makes me really believe, like, obviously there are people who do that, but I'm spending the whole movie like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
Why would you
and
do
also,
this?
I don't want to be, like, rooting for you or feeling sorry for you, because it's like, this is entirely self-inflicted. You had a car, you had the means of traveling away from the twister, and you decided instead to travel towards the twister. This is all you're doing, mister.
Okay, I guess who I would be is I'm someone who dies in the suicide bombing in New York at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, God.
I'm a protester who's in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think that's who I am.
Oh, boy.
Who are you?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn between the two that you mentioned. Either living somewhere in Colorado, pretending this doesn't exist, or living in that small town with that girl who I think was also in Fargo season 2. I think she's the girl who works at the meat place that Jesse Plemons works at. That woman who works in the clothing store. That was like one of the things that I was actually kind of curious about in the attitude of the people in this movie. It seemed like the way that they refer to the people who opted out, it almost felt like they were having, like, derogatory feelings towards them. They were like, oh, these people just decided to pretend it's not happening. It's like, this is a perfectly normal thing. Why would you want to be part of a civil war? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just my very peacenik opinions, but it seems like a bad way to be. And if you don't need to engage in it, that's what you should do.
In some ways, yeah. But, like, one thing we never see someone be like, this is why I have to fight. I have to fight. I have to join the fight. Like, we never see the movie be like, oh yeah, it's a good thing to take up guns. It seems awful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think the movie's very much I'm one of the people getting drunk in a hotel bar.
Yeah.
That's who I am.
Yeah, I was happy that there's still bars to be drunk at, even during a civil war. That is nice. Thank you, Alex Garland. Even if you have to
take the stairs in a New York skyscraper.
Yeah, 10 floors. Though I guess my building's elevator breaks down on a regular basis, and then we have to walk up 15 floors. So...
Well, you used to. What was the walk up you used to live in?
It was only, I think it was 4 flights total, so it wasn't that bad. And you don't notice it after a while. I do know that as guests of ours, definitely remarked on the number of stairs, but I feel like...
I noticed it.
Yeah. But I feel like as someone who had to do it multiple times a day, sometimes it's not that bad.
Well, okay. Let's see. Do we have any more thought experiments? All right. You're the dictator. They come out.
Well,
they
technically,
drag
like,
you
we
out
haven't even established that he's the dictator. He might be a good guy. Like, we have all these conflicting clues. But sure, let's say you're the dictator.
Wow. Wow. You're on the president's side?
We don't know.
Wow.
We just don't know. All right, wow too. This woman is on the president's side.
What? All right, so you're being dragged out. First, what are your
last words?
What is your quote? And two, what are your attempted what's your quote to the journalist as you, the dictator, are dragged out?
I mean, please don't make them shoot me is quite a good one. I don't know if I can make a better one.
Is it please don't make them? I thought it was please don't let them.
Oh, okay. Please don't let them shoot me. Please don't make them shoot me would be my quote. Because I know what I did.
Yeah, I think those are very realistic last words. Have you ever watched any of those videos of like Muammar Gaddafi getting killed?
No, I have no interest in that. Is that good?
Is it good? 4 stars.
Like, is it worth watching? Is it anything?
No, I mean,
like not what I expect.
I've chosen not to watch it. I've certainly chosen not to watch it. But from the first time I heard about like what it is, like one of my friends I saw this movie with, we were talking about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, a guy bayonets him in the genitals a ton of times."
Jeez.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't need to see that.
Yeah, I mean,
they like, I think they like rip him apart.
I mean, I don't wish that guy well, but I don't need to see this.
No, fuck that guy. Look, if an entire population, if the population you ruled is ripping your body apart, then you probably were not a good leader.
If the population you ruled is ripping you up to shreds, you might be a bad dictator.
If you got more gold on your outfit than in your throne room, you might be a bad dictator.
Oh boy, who would have thought things would turn Foxworthy?
Okay. So should we give this whole movie a little grade?
Let's give it a little grade.
All right. 3, a 2, a 1.
B minus.
A.
Wow.
You say B minus?
I said B minus.
I
stand by
really
it.
like this.
All right.
I really like this.
Good for you. I'm
gonna
happy
say,
when you
I
like
think
a
it's-
movie.
I think it's going to be pretty high on my top 10 of the year.
Wow.
Unless we have an amazing rest of the year, which I'd rather that happen.
That's true.
As much as I like this movie, I'd rather see 10 better movies.
Yeah, I'd rather see Maxine 10 times.
I'm so fucking excited.
we got a trailer for that, and I'm pumped.
Speaking of other movies, Veronica, you see anything else good the past 2 weeks? You were pretty busy.
Well, John, as you know, I was on my travels. I did not see much, but I have, as mentioned earlier, I was in Japan. Very exciting. And luckily, I got to stay at the hotel from Lost in Translation. And we had a few hours to waste before dinner. So I watched Lost in Translation.
Did you watch old Bill Murray movies like he does?
No, I just watched Lost in Translation while I was at the hotel from Lost in Translation. And it was good. I mean, I love that movie. I uncritically am enamored with that movie, and nothing you will say will make me doubt myself. So shut up.
I love that movie.
Okay,
I
good.
love that movie. Tragically, I was just thinking about it. Lost in Translation technically is an old Bill Murray movie.
That's true. It's 21 years.
Whew.
I know.
Because I was sitting there and I'm like, how old is that movie? And I'm like, I did watch that in high school.
Same.
Lost in Translation story. I was so psyched to see that. I'd definitely already seen Virgin Suicides, but I was excited to see that. And we went, and we had just gotten Juan, a foreign exchange student, had just moved into our town, and he came with us to see a movie. And he had no connection to any of the characters in it at all. And also, like, most of us loved it, where he was just like, why would she like that gross old man?
Aw.
And you know what? Fair question.
It is fair.
Honestly.
I think they had a connection. They were lonely souls in a lonely place. I don't know. I love that movie so much. Like, every song choice is perfect. The way it films Tokyo is just beautiful. Staying in that hotel was amazing. I made sure to go to all the places to see. And it's like the movie. It's kind of crazy. So that was really fun.
What do you think he whispered to her at the end?
I don't know. I mean, my very cheesy answer is that he whispered, "It's gonna be okay," but I don't know what he actually said. I know that there are all these like lip reading whatever videos, but it never felt right. Like the stuff that they end up coming up with, I guess. What do you think they say?
I think he whispered, I'll Venmo you my share for karaoke.
Wow. Oh, so he anticipated Venmo.
Yeah.
She was like, "What?"
That movie takes place in the future.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. I got to rewatch it.
Yeah.
I 10 times seeing it. Never paid attention to that. Yeah. There were all these spaceships in the background. And then I saw this Alex Gibney documentary called Citizen K. It's about Alexei or Alexander. Anyway, this guy named let's say Alexei Khodorkovsky. And so he's one of the OG oligarchs Mikhail. Never mind. Mikhail Khodorkovsky. I don't know why I thought his name was Alexei. Anyway.
What's his name? Mark. Oh, right. Samantha. It was Samantha.
I'm sorry. I'm a Russian speaker, so, it's okay if I do it. Anyway, but yeah, he was like one of the OG oligarchs, the ones that got to basically split between them 8 or 7 guys, the majority of Russia's natural resources. And he was basically the richest one of them all until he got on Putin's wrong side, and then basically got sentenced to prison for 10 years. And then they retried him in a bigger kangaroo court to more time. And then the only reason he was released was because they were hosting the Winter Olympics, and Putin wanted dignitaries to come visit. And some of them were like, well, not if you imprison people politically. And so he was one of the symbolic releases, him and a Pussy Riot singer and a bunch of people. But anyway, now he's exiled in London, and if he ever comes back to Russia, he will die. And he's this movie is from a few years back, so he was still supporting Navalny and a bunch of other candidates, basically alternatives to Putin. But the movie is about Russia at that time of the sort of the glasnost and after the wall fell, and this chaos of privatization, stuff that I was not even aware of, even though I lived through them. And then sort of how these men sort of create Putin. Not necessarily what they wanted Putin to be, but they were definitely instrumental in him coming to power, and now kind of are sowing reaping what they've sown. So it's an interesting movie. If you are curious about the history of sort of early Russia and how Putin came to be, I think it's an interesting story.
Cool. I watched a different documentary. I watched Night Swim, the documentary about a haunted swimming pool.
Oh boy. Was that an Alex Gibney joint? Or was that Frederick Weissman? Was it 4 hours? About the process of how the pool gets filled.
I watched 2 other movies since our last episode. 2 movies, and they're both dumb horror movies. And the thing is, like, I'm always like hanging out with friends and like, oh, let's just watch a movie. And I'm like, oh, let's watch like a dumb horror movie. But to me, there's a very specific era where it's fun. Like, it has to be shot on film. Like, I want an 80s dumb horror movie. 80s, maybe I'll do 90s. But like, I have a few friends who they're like, yeah, I'll watch a dumb horror movie, but it's got to be modern. So I watched Night Swim and The Babysitter. And boy, I didn't really like either.
Not fun? Are they not having fun?
I don't know if it's worth really getting into it, but I mean, they're fine. They were both fine. The Babysitter was more like, it's such a great premise. The Babysitter is such a great premise. It has Samara Weaving, who I love.
Ooh,
the premise is there's a boy. He's like a middle school age boy. He has his babysitter, who's like a high school girl who lives down the street, who always comes over and babysits him, and he's like a real like nervous nerd dork, and she's like super cool and nice and hot, and he's like right at that age where he's like developing like a little crush on her, and his friends are like, what does she do like when after you go to bed? And he's like, I don't know. And their friends are like, I bet she like invites people over. And he's like, I don't know. And they're like, you should check. And he checks, and she does invite people over, and it turns out she's in a Satanist cult. And they're all murderers. What a fun premise.
That is fun.
Boy, it doesn't work for me. My apologies to Mick G, the director.
Oh, it's a McG joint.
Yeah, it just like doesn't hit the tone for me. Night Swim. Also, like, there are times where it's like, clearly this movie is enjoying how stupid it is. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, I'm like, oh, this is a horror movie for teenagers. But then I'm like, wait, there's a whole lot to do with a character's like degenerative disease.
Oh.
So it's like, I don't know. Great cast. It's the wife in it, the female lead is Carrie Condon from Banshees of Inisherin.
Is she Irish in it?
No.
Oh.
Nope. Yeah, wonderful American accent.
It would be
Wyatt
fun if she
Russell
was
is-
still as her character, like a 1920s Irish woman hanging out with these
She
teenagers.
left Inisherin, came to America.
I mean, she does
and then
leave.
She got a haunted swimming pool.
She does leave the movie, right? Like, or in the movie,
does.
she moves away.
She leaves Inisherin.
Maybe.
Spoilers.
Spoiler.
There's a very weird part where a major plot point is that Wyatt Russell's character finds a video camera and starts like it's got old home movies, and it's the classic thing of like let me watch some thematically relevant old home movies. But the thing is, so I see the scene and I'm like, oh, this is a period movie, because it's the same like old video camera that I had in college.
I was gonna
that I tried
ask.
filming. It is a DV standard definition video camera that's supposed to be like, this is what you would buy in like 2006, 2005.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not a period movie. It takes place in modern day. And
That's sad.
like his daughter has an iPhone. But it's clearly filmed when his kids are played by the same actor, so it's like max 3 years earlier. So why not only did he have this old video camera, he's a professional baseball player that's had to take a break because he got sick, and then due to magical pool shenanigans he gets his strength back, and he films like an audition video for the Major League Baseball where he's like, "Hey MLB, looks like I got my strength back. Check it out."
On like a
Bang!
handy cam?
Use your daughter's iPhone, dude.
That is bizarre.
It's insane.
This is not what I thought a movie called Night Swim would be. I feel like I thought it would be about like sexy teens nakedly swimming in a pool, and then stuff happens.
No, although there is like the daughter is played by an actress in her 20s, but she looks very young.
Hold on,
and
how
then
old
she's-
is Wyatt Russell? Isn't he like our age or something? He has a 20-year-old daughter.
Well, no. His daughter's supposed to be like 15. in the movie.
Okay, but still, that's
But
pretty
she's
young to have a 15-year-old.
eh. But yeah, the actress who plays his daughter is like in her 20s, but she's playing like a 15-year-old. And there is a scene where she goes swimming and like, oh no, a monster's gonna get her, and the camera is just lingering on her ass. And like at that point, I thought she was like cast to age, and I'm like, I'm real uncomfortable about this.
Okay. All right, so
Um,
anti-Rex.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I think my friend had more fun than I did.
Well, at least someone
But
did.
whatever.
That's not bad.
Yep. That neither of them were terrible. They were silly and fun. They could have been more fun. Oh
Okay. It happens.
well. So what do we got coming up in a couple weeks?
Well, John, I think it's an old movie time. I know. So,
I gotta look at the camera. If we're gonna do this, I can't look at your face. I gotta like look at the camera more.
oh, yeah, I don't think I'm doing that either. So, sorry. Okay. So, our options are The Other Woman, which I think is like some sort of. Oh, yeah.
Is that like Leslie Mann?
Yeah. And Heather Locklear? I don't remember. But yeah, it's after discovering that her boyfriend is married. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, isn't it? It's one of the Sports Illustrated models.
Oh,
Swimsuit models.
Brooklyn
The
Decker?
blonde. No, the other one. Brooklyn
Oh,
Decker
Kate
is an
Upton.
amazing actress.
Kate
Yeah,
Up-
Kate Upton.
Yeah. Oh, it's Cameron
Brooklyn Decker
Diaz.
is such. Brooklyn Decker is such an incredible actress.
I am not doubting
Have
that.
you ever? Yeah, see her. She's in 2 Andrew Bajowski movies, and she's incredible.
Good.
She's really good at both of them.
Good for her.
That is Brooklyn Decker, right?
I don't know.
So what are the other options?
Identity. Oh my God. I remember despising that movie. Oh, no, that's not true. A Man on Fire is the actual answer. Identity was in 2003. This is 2004.
Man on Fire. Is that Denzel Washington?
Yeah, and Dakota Fanning.
Oh, Tony Scott.
Yeah. There is No Escape, which I don't even know what that is.
That's the 90s one?
Yeah, that's the 90s one. And then there's Police Academy. That is the 80s movie. And
the first Police Academy.
the first Police Academy. And then we have The Sting. Do 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 do.
I've never seen this thing.
I would actually rewatch The Sting. That could be fun.
I think we might have to do the first Police Academy.
Oh God, no, maybe we'll see. I've never seen that.
No Escape is a Martin Campbell action movie. Martin Campbell of like GoldenEye and Casino Royale and The Mask of Zorro. It stars Ray Liotta and Lance Henriksen.
Wow.
Kevin Dillon.
Oh boy.
Ernie Hudson's in it.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Tom Jones, the not the singer, but the movie starring Albert Finney, which I believe he won an Oscar for. It's a parody. But anyway, those are our options. One of these is gonna be the movie we talk about, and I'm gonna be agitating for The Sting.
I'm so excited about each of those options, so I can't wait. And And so we're going to leave it at that. For homework, I'm making Veronica and all my friends watch Come and See.
Oh, is it the porn parody? CUMNC? The way you said come sounded like very much like...
Yes. Come and See, the porn parody of Come and See, one of the most horrifying war movies of all time. It's the big difference is that all the rape scenes are now consensual. That's really the major difference.
That's good. Baby
Oof,
steps.
God, a porn parody of Come and See. That is...
Yeah, probably not ideal.
Even trying to think about what that would be is unpleasant. Okay. On that
I apologize.
awful note.
It's just the way you
Toot,
said it
toot.
was just there for the taking.
I just said come. You don't pronounce come different ways.
I think you kind of do. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Toot,
how would you
toot.
pronounce come, the sexual one?
Come.
Okay, how would you pronounce it as COME?
Come.
You do not actually.
I don't know. Stop. Toot toot. This is over. Toot toot.
Toot toot. Ask your friends at home if they pronounce come and come differently.
Yeah. And tell them about the
And
context.
if they would watch a porn parody of Come and See.
I don't know.
Bye, everybody. Toot toot.